Take 5 Media is a pornography producing company that has sued Meta for actually downloading and illegally scraping their videos to help kind of fuel and produce Meta's AI kind of chatbot, etc. They explicitly have evidence where they can actually see that Meta's California campus illegally torrented hundreds of megabytes of these videos. Should it actually kind of go to court and like a lawsuit kind of ultimately wins, this could also reopen the door back to the previous litigation for Claude, for OpenAI.
You're listening to Media Monitor, where we break down what's happening in the media and the advertising industry and tell you what it actually means. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks. How's it going?
It's good. I did everything in my power not to take a Nick day today, as they're saying.
It's true. You are here. I appreciate your loyalty to this podcast.
I am here. I mean, the parade is over now, but it was on in our house. And unfortunately, TV coverage of the Knicks celebration left you wanting more. Though I don't think you could have paid me to be below Canal Street today. I think I'm hearing there's like 10 million people.
Oof. In all of Manhattan or just at the parade? Because that is rough.
No, at like below Canal.
I'm surprised the island doesn't sink.
I know.
That's a lot of people.
And it's hot.
Like, it's so hot.
There was this...
and it's like muggy. Yeah.
There's this one woman who was doing above and beyond level work, taking pictures, and she has bangs, and like they were just like these like sweaty strings of hair, just she kept her blue and orange and white houndstooth blazer on, which I thought was a commitment.
It's a strong choice.
It was not the right choice for today.
No. It is a choice.
It's a choice.
It is a choice.
But
yeah, heard the Knicks won, so that's about as far as I got into it.
I just can't believe how much I have to pull this out of you, Sean.
Yeah, I did look at our stats. I got numbers.
Well, and I knew you would.
That's my contribution. I'm the game by game. You're the color commentator.
And so I figured we'd do two things today, or maybe three. So one thing that I want us to start doing every week, because I think it's important to our listeners, is to touch on some of the advertising or media headlines that hit the news this week and talk about, what stuck with us. We're not going to go deep into talking through them, but we want to make sure that our listeners, if it's important to us and we're talking about it, we want to make sure you all don't miss it. So we're going to highlight a few of those. Yep. Then talk through initial NBA finals stats and look at what our projections might be.
Yep.
And then if time allows, we'll touch on World Cup.
Sounds great. And I also want to call out that we are going to try going forward to include all of the articles we do reference in our show notes for the very studious folks out there that are like, I really need to read more about this, and you don't trust Google. We will also include them in our show notes, so that way you have a source, figure out where we're talking about it, so that way it helps as well.
Perfect. Well, so Sean, what caught your eye in the headlines this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be silly for not to lead with the whole Roku announcement.
Oh, that big one?
That big one, right? I think it'd be a little silly to talk headlines and not be like, Fox Roku. For the sake of time on this pod, I would just highlight there's a couple of articles where Guideline was actually picked up to talk about the merger. There's one out of Digiday, which will include, say it. I've never actually said it out loud, just like typed the Digiday.
I say
anyway.
Digiday.
Yeah, right? It feels decent. Anyway, so we kind of got some coverage there. We'll include that in the show notes, where you can kind of see how we talk about the programmatic kind of piece, which is top of mind for me when I think about this enablement. Mm-hmm. Roku's huge programmatic compared to Fox's decently sized programmatic, mostly coming through Tubi. So we'll kind of highlight that. And then Adweek also kind of talked a little bit there. That one was more about category mix. So where are they complementary? Mm-hmm. Where is there some places where maybe, they'll be a little redundant? And then also kind of commentary on the mix of the Roku channel plus Tubi plus Howdy, right? That's a lot of streaming services all under one roof, servicing very similar audiences. What happens kind of post-merger?
I have to say, I hadn't spent much time looking at Tubi. I had no idea it was as big as it
It's
is.
a monster. It's a monster. It's actually one of
100
those that
million?
and bought for pennies on the dollar from Fox back in 17?
Yeah.
And they have just done a great job kind of growing that into something as a sleeper. I feel like Pluto kind of is top of mind for most folks when you think fast,
Yep.
but like Tubi is actually, I think, bigger now than Pluto,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't start that way. So yeah, it's been a growth engine for them for sure.
Yeah. Well, on that note, speaking of things, growth, a surprising growth, something that caught my eye was the movies, summer movies, and
Yeah.
who is making a surprising splash. So, New York Times had an article this week talking about two movies coming from very young directors, a 20-year-old, a 26-year-old. I'm talking about Obsession and Backrooms. They are blowing up. We're bringing Gen Z in droves to the theaters and made for relatively no money.
Yeah.
It's like such a cool thing to see. I mean, I for one grew up waiting for those summer blockbusters. Like, I won't say which names because it will date me, but I love seeing this. I now maybe want to go see maybe Obsession, although it's a scary movie and I don't even know if I'm
Fair.
like if I can handle it.
Yeah.
But caught my
By the way,
eye.
with all of the remakes out there, you could probably just hedge to talk about generically like Top Gun, and you could be in the 80s, you could be in like the mid-teens, and there's a new one coming out. So you are very safe without dating yourself to be like, I'm generically picking this one that's been remade 6 times and still be a very safe territory to not be able to exactly triangulate an age. So I do want to
You
throw
mean
it out.
like when I brought up Flatliners this week, you had never seen it, and then I
No.
found out it was remade in 2017? Yes, just like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or Jurassic Park. There's basically been one every year since like
I
94.
know.
So like very safe to be like, yeah, I grew up watching Jurassic Park during the summer. It's like which one? Just leave it open ended.
Keep it at the OG.
Yeah.
So what else caught your eye, Sean?
Yeah. So there's one more that kind of caught my eye, and it's slightly not safe for work material. So kind of prelude here, a bit different of a path, but 404 Media kind of covered a recent lawsuit against Meta, which we have talked about. But what's fascinating is the angle on the lawsuit. So Take Five Media is a pornography producing company that has sued Meta for actually downloading and illegally scraping their videos to help kind of fuel and produce Meta's AI kind of chatbot, etc. And there has been, if you remember 2-3 years ago, right, there was a whole lawsuit by a publisher group to kind of say, look, OpenAI at the time consumed all of our illegally downloaded copyrighted books to produce, at the time, I think it was like Chat GPT 3.5, but there wasn't a lot of evidence. And so the case
Yeah.
never went anywhere. They settled out of court. This one, though, they explicitly have evidence where they can actually see that Meta's California campus illegally torrented, I think.
You got it.
I think something like hundreds of megabytes of these videos from Take Five Media's various pornography sites. And so they have that. They have the detail. And Meta's like, no. It was like one rogue employee. So they're moving forward the lawsuit, which I think is interesting, right? Because it does shed light into how these chatbots are being made. But should it actually kind of go to court and like a lawsuit kind of ultimately wins, this could also reopen the door back to the previous litigation for Claude, for OpenAI, and all of those things, which I think is like a fascinating angle given all of the conversations that are happening about AI.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Like, everyone just gets shut down.
Yeah.
Because.
Or like you get limited and you're like, sorry, you can only do it on this. And then you start talking to Claude or OpenAI and it goes back to like ChatGPT 2, where it like speaks in broken sentences. And you're like, what is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, fascinating.
It is. We'll have to keep tabs on that and see where that goes because it could be a topic for a future episode.
Absolutely.
All right. Now we got to get into it. I'm so eager to talk about NBA finals. I need to know. You sound it.
Yeah.
Sean.
I tried so hard to just even like read, be like, who won? Okay, cool. How many games? Okay, cool.
The game 4 of this series is one of the best sporting events of all time. I'm just going to say it.
To be fair, I didn't watch it, but I saw the coverage on it, and then I started reading, and it was like, why? You're like, oh my god! Like, I think it was what the greatest comeback of all time in
Yes,
terms of like point deficit. Like that is the type of game you want to tune in for.
exactly. And the type of
Yeah,
game that you don't feel bad shelling out thousands of dollars to go see if you did that. But so
yeah,
I
sure.
am so eager. You have to tell me what the stats are looking like because my gut is that just the fact that this is New York, there's so much celebrity appeal, the fact that they have, a 53-year or they had a 53-year gap in holding a title, these have got to be impressive numbers. So please share with us what we're seeing.
So it turns out the New York Knicks not only won on the court, but also on screen. Just so you hope. So I want to kind of level set before we get into the spend, which we can see, is to also say, the 4 games this year, from at least what we can see in rating so far,
Five.
five. Sorry, everyone. So you can tell how much I read on this one. But the 5 games this year essentially doubled viewership. I think at its peak was around 20 million viewers, whereas the NBA Finals last year, I think peaked was like 10.3, 10.1, something in that ballpark. So already, right out of the gate, there was literally double the amount of people tuning in, watching it. Everybody wanted to see where this thing went. So naturally, then you've got to expect the money to be more. And initial results, right? We are literally like 1 week out from our data. It still needs to be reconciled, all these things. We could be looking at roughly 363 million bucks for the NBA Finals for this year. Now, to give
Wow.
context, right? Because who knows how much that is? Last year's finals was 246 million. The finals before that were 227, and the year before that was 226 out of our data. So, just for context, right? It's pretty consistently in that mid 250-ish range for years, and
Mm-hmm.
then skyrocket, almost double
Wow.
what it were, or I should say 1.5x what it was last year. So just this massive, massive increase in dollars. Again, preliminary views, technically 47.6% up versus the prior year, but like every single year prior to that was marginal, or actually even in some ways declined. So just a massive, massive success for the Knicks, for the NBA, big wins there all around. So congrats.
Wow. I mean, I guess I'm not shocked and I'll want to probably dig into this even more as our data, gets finalized, but
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, they're crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what about how people consumed this? Like,
Yeah.
where are they watching it? How does that look and how does that stack up to other sporting events?
Yeah. So again, preliminary at this point, but when we look kind of across the whole season, about a third of all of the NBA's ad revenue this year came from streaming. Now, again, for context, it went from essentially $0 in 2025 to now being a full third of revenue overall. So kind of, and again, to context, right? Big shift, but it was also intentionally very clear that the NBA wanted to go that direction, right? When
Yeah.
they re-signed all the deals, they moved away from Warner, they specifically picked partners that had that dual streaming plus broadcast piece, or a very strong streaming component, right? Amazon, Disney, NBC Universal, all places where they could do a heavy lift to make sure that games were either telecast and streamed, streaming exclusives, and as a result, it kind of paid off for them. Now, also the NBA is a bit younger in terms of viewers, so they just naturally would have more people stream. But the NBA now, just from a streaming dollars perspective, is larger than what we have in our data, at least from the NFL, despite the NFL being a monster and just much, much bigger in
Interesting.
terms of overall ad revenue. Like there's basically the NFL and then everyone else combined, and even then still a fraction of the NFL's
Yeah.
ad revenue. But in this particular case, the NBA bet big on streaming, and it seems to be paying off for them, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm guessing that's only going to continue to
for sure.
accelerate, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what when they come out in a couple months with their new schedule, what does it look like for the upcoming year? We'll dig into that and try to figure out what that means. But I would be shocked if there wasn't an even further push into streaming for them.
Yeah. I know we're still early on stats. Was there anything else that jumped out at you?
I would kind of highlight those two. We'll kind of be wrapping on our NBA report and probably, early July once we get the final stats, see what the NBA finals look like. But, overall, very healthy growth overall in terms of what we can see.
Love it. Well,
Yep.
and I mean, NBA wasn't the only thing going on last weekend. We had World Cup opening
Yeah.
ceremonies. Just a massive, massive sports weekend. I mean, and week. I mean, this is now we're kind of in the thick of it. We've got a family pool going on my side of the house. Are you
Okay.
guys doing anything like that?
I mean, we
No.
fill up. It's like a watermelon pool when it's hot, but it's different pool.
No.
Dad
That's
joke.
that's a
Dad
different.
joke. Nailed it. No, no, we don't. No money is exchanging hands in terms of betting the brackets. What's happening? Nothing.
Well, we were all in. We got like 12 of, I forget how many of us, divided by 3. Yeah, 16 people in this pool.
Wow.
And yeah, it's great. We get 3 teams each, and it's been fun so far. So, what are we seeing from a preliminary perspective World Cup wise?
Yeah, right. I think viewership has been all over the place so far. The men's U.S. game specifically, kind of set records in the United States, but other games are kind of pacing a little bit behind. Cutter's also a real hard comp. It was in the fall. A lot of the games were at kind of tough times to view. So there's not really like a great like, hey, this is how much it's grown in the last 4 years compared to say like the Olympics or like the Super Bowl, right? Other tentpoles that have more consistent similar type thing. So that being said, the average kind of 30-second spot right now is going for $200,000 to $300,000 for the World Cup in terms of what we can see from our data today. About a third of units currently are kind of being sold in that window. And for context, so Qatar for the 22 World Cup pricing there was about 170K to 200. So it is definitely a market increase. And what's interesting is on the upside, we're seeing like for like the very expensive units, which include sponsorship and all of that, like in the millions of dollars. So not quite at Super Bowl pricing yet, but like as we're pushing closer to the finals or final, sorry, kind of blending the two sports here. It is getting very close to some of those unit rates that you'd expect out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not surprised considering I'm just assuming game times were super difficult in Qatar. They've been difficult here, quite frankly. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough to keep track because there's no like set schedule of what it's going to be. It's kind of fluctuating in all the locations and difficult to manage. But the one thing I've been enjoying, and I didn't ask you to look into this before, but I'm probably going to ask you later, is all the like commentary shows, like just sitting at a hotel pool in Kansas City, drinking Bud Lights, like all these like British commentators.
Yeah.
It's just so fun to watch. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, similar to the Olympics and conversations that we had previously, if we're seeing growth in that market as well, just like these
Yeah.
kind of like companion shows.
Yeah, the shoulder
Um,
programming. Yeah, I think that's something that we can kind of talk a little bit. I think in kind of next week episode and start getting into that. I think we'll have a little bit of visibility there. But on the topic of the British Isles drinking Bud Light, I don't know if you saw, but there was a multitude of Boston bars that ran out of beer this week because the Scots came in and essentially drank dry. I think it was like 2 or 3 bars. There literally nothing left. No extra kegs, nothing on tap, just completely gone. And I saw that made it to the top of my news feed. So not ad related in terms of top of mind, but certainly living rent free in my head.
well, I mean, I don't know if you're following any of the folks that are, I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but like
Hmm.
folks that are coming in and just diving deep into American culture
Yeah,
and just like listening to Ella Langley, loving her music, going to every bad for you restaurant that we have and ordering the chili cheese fries. I mean, it
yeah,
is hysterical to watch because it's really 2 camps, right? It's like the the Europeans that come over and are disgusted by us
sure.
or just love everything that we're doing because it's not what they can get back home, and just like I think my husband was telling me about, or were you telling me about? I'm trying to remember the guy that was living or renting an Airbnb across from this group of, I think, like Scottish tourists. Were you telling me this?
No, I think it was your husband.
Okay. And basically, like, they formed this bond and were like making pancake breakfast for the game. And then they had an extra ticket to the game and they invited like this random dude. Oh, it's like, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. You know, if you're looking for the good in the world, sometimes these types of sporting events brings out the very best, whether it's the Olympics, the World Cup, where it is this like weird mix of like people that just go all in on the culture, that it's about who wins. Right? There's some ugliness too, right? Competitiveness, etc. But yeah, there is all of these really nice stories that are coming out about the World Cup. My favorite was there was a couple of Japanese tourists that tried out Texas Roadhouse and they like live tweeted it. That one was fantastic.
Verdict was
like mind blown, but like just couldn't handle it. It was like, this is just all too much. This is just too much.
Everything's just too much.
Everything is just too much. Yeah. Was kind of the vibe.
Well, I mean, on your point of finding the good in the world, I think that's where we leave it this week, Sean. Let's just
positive note.
Positive. Let's go find some good in the world and start by liking, subscribing, and telling your friends about Media Monitor.
Absolutely. Until next week.
See you later, Sean.
That's Media Monitor. Follow us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts every Wednesday for a new episode. And as always, thanks for listening.